Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to be out here today to go and celebrate these amazing women that are here with Women That Soar. And I'd actually like to just take a quick moment to ask all the women who are being awarded tomorrow night to stand up. Please give them a round of applause. They are amazing women. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. I hope that you'll take the time today to go over and meet some of these women. Introduce yourself, because they are inspiring people by the hundreds, if not thousands. And what they are doing is opening doors for the rest of us. So I'm so excited about that. And I look forward to learning more about what all of you are doing in the world, because that's what this luncheon is about. At the Memnosyne Institute, we are so grateful for the Women That Soar organization for supporting us into its third year this year and helping us do work locally, nationally, and around the globe. So thank you very much, and enjoy your lunch.
I can wash 44 pairs of socks and have them hanging on the line. I can starch and iron 2 dozen shirts before you can count from 1 to 9. I can grab a great big dip of lard from the drippings can, pour it in the skillet, go do my shopping, be back before it melts in the pan, 'cause I'm a W-O-M-A-N, a woman, a woman. Dime. Feed the baby, grease the car, and powder my face at the same time. Jump up and sit, 'cause I'm a woman, a woman, a woman. If you come to me sickly, you know I'm gonna make you well. If you come to me all hexed up, I'm gonna break the spell. If you come to me hungry, you know I'm gonna feed you full of grits. If it's loving you like it, I'll kiss you and give you the shivering fist. 'Cause I'm a W-O-M-A-N, a woman, a woman. I got $20 gold piece, there's nothing I can do. I'm a W-O-M-A-N, a woman, a woman. 'Cause I'm a W-O-M-A-N, a woman, a woman. Oh You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room, just like moons and like suns, through the certainty of times, just like hopes springing high. Still I rise. Do you Don't you take it all so hard, 'cause I walk like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still I care. I'll rise.
Does my sexiness does it come as a surprise? Then I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame, I'll rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I'll rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, whirling and swirling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I'll rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I'll rise.
Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I'll rise.
I'll rise.
I launched Women That Soar in 2007 to create a community of women. It's a media and content development company. The purpose was to create content, events, and online information that would bring a diverse group of women together to celebrate one another, to celebrate our personal and professional accomplishments. It's about who we are, our journey, our trials, our tribulations, and our triumphs. In our 7th year, we are growing, no, excuse me, 6th year, I'm jumping the gun. We are growing and we are making a movement globally. It is really about you guys coming together as women to share with young women what you've gone through, to share your stories with one another, because that's what helps us to continue to soar. As we continue on and we launch this movement, I ask you to join us, to tell other women about Women That Soar, who we are, what we're doing, and what we want to do for the city of Dallas. My goal is to bring a nationally televised award show to Dallas, where we are driving women all over the world to this amazing city, that we will become the first televised award show that Dallas has. There's an award show in every major market, and we have one of the most fabulous cities out of the 50 states. And so, therefore, we want the Women That Soar Awards to drive women here from all over. So I just tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tomorrow's event will be amazing. I hope you will join us for the award show. And enjoy your luncheon, because I am not going to keep you. I am not a huge speaker. So enjoy your luncheon. And if you have any questions about who we are, what we do, and how you can become a part of Women That Soar and support the Memnosyne Institute, let me know. Thank you.
The mission of the Memnosyne Institute is to help the diverse people of the world consciously encourage an evolution for themselves and for future generations by providing mankind with the means to encourage positive, peaceful global collaboration in diverse areas of knowledge. Today, there are 4 clinics in the Yucatan wherein a midwife is teaching a minimum of 10 young women how to help care for the sick, deliver children, and grow their necessary medicines, because Women That Soar CEO Gina Grant introduced Memnosyne Foundation founder Marian Thompson-Frenk to Yvette Lambert of Hope Contained. That's 40 empowered women who will each serve 40 individual communities in one of the most impoverished areas of the world, and all because Women That Soar connected 2 women leading different organizations into an international collaboration. And that is why the Memnosyne Foundation feels so honored to be one of the beneficiaries of Women That Soar, because we are working to create collaborations across economic, racial, religious, cultural, and gender divides to empower people here in Dallas, across the great state of Texas, the USA, and international boundaries. With successful programs designed in collaboration with individuals just like you who have empowered women, men, and their families in Dallas, Houston, Austin, the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission's outreach in New York, negotiating the first alliance in 300 years between the Hopi and Navajo nations, creating collaborations between the city of Aspen and the area's original Ute tribes, outreach to Taos Pueblo and the Blackfoot Nation, linking environmental innovators and empowering collaborations with Haitian villages, cultural preservation with the indigenous people of Mexico, outreach in Guatemala, training leading thinkers in strategic humanitarianism in the United Nations and Austria, outreach into Rwanda, Tanzania, Mauritania, Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam, Malaysia, as well as an international chapter in Japan, just to name a few. Our network of collaborating communities now spans the globe and is not only working to empower people abroad, but those in the United States as well. Dallas should be on the lookout for foodsourcedfw.org, an online initiative serving North Texas food pantries via ensuring that 30% of donated foods, which until now has spoiled before being allocated to those in need, doesn't go to waste and is shared in time. As well as Memnosyne's Interfaith Service Network uniting communities of different faiths to serve each other's communities, especially via Memnosyne's annual Juneteenth Festival serving children in the poorest communities. And on the international front, be on the lookout for our School Out of the Box program aimed at making education available to the poorest regions of the world.
One of our first projects is the implementation of a CARL network, actually a network of networks, with the Memnosyne Foundation and the Club of Budapest. We'll be integrating systems for Nexus, the Center for Human Emergence, the Indigenous Institute of the Americas, and the Center for Advanced Studies. This global collaboration resource network will offer new ways for groups to manage their organizations and projects internally, interact with other organizations via shared networks, and provide for public interaction as well.
And the launch of our Campus for Humanity campaign aimed at connecting humanitarian endeavors in the environment, science, technology, economics, health, medicine, arts, interfaith inquiry, indigenous cultures, spirituality, and outreach modalities to the international community in collaboration to empower our community and others for generations to come.
Now you're in for a real treat because there is an exceptional woman. Not that all of you aren't, but she really stands above and beyond. Vivian Castleberry was a woman who fought every way you can imagine to get to do what she loved, which was to be a journalist in Dallas, long before most women were able to even dream of doing that. She's going to be here to share her own story and hopefully to inspire all of you that are trying to do your own fight today in whatever area or profession or part of your life that may be. Because when you see what this woman has done and accomplished and how her spirit is still striving to improve on the world around us, you will be inspired. Vivian Castleberry.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you, Gina, for the opportunity to speak to this wonderful, wonderful group of women. My role here today is not to tell you what I've done, but to inspire you to do what you do best, to create change in our world. My own role, to give you a bit of background, for all of my life, at least for as long as I can remember, I have been an advocate for the advancement of women. My career as a journalist allowed me to have a ringside seat and sometimes to be a part of the action as the second wave of the women's movement in America took effect. I have been an observer and a participant. I have had a rightful role in helping other women claim their rightful roles to be at the table when decisions were being made. A couple of weeks ago, someone asked me, in your career, what kind of topics did you and your staff cover that you began to change the direction of how women think about themselves and how they operate in the world? I looked in my files and I discovered 8 topics in the A alphabet alone. They include, I can find them here, abortion, adoption, aging, agoraphobia, anorexia, Alzheimer's, and autism. Those were the topics that our women's reporters pioneered. And one of the funny things was that as soon as we opened the options and started to cover these topics, the men would take over. And my staff would get so upset because they were taking over what we had been doing and thought we had been doing so well. And I would say to them, that's okay. There are lots of other wonderful things out there that are not being covered. So all we have to do is to pioneer new ways and new topics for doing things. Every day, my work took me from the Women's Club and the Country Club in North Dallas to the poverty centers in South Dallas to West Dallas, where I couldn't speak the language. I'm so sorry about that. To other areas in the community. And I learned that if you turn these situations over to women, if you educate them, if you expose them, they are going to find a solution to the problems. I came from an era when men were in charge of everything. Our lawmakers were all men. Our doctors were all male. Our lawyers were all male. Our business executives were all male. Our editors and newscasters were all male. Dallas was indeed known as a man's town. And I started researching and observing. And it became clear to me right away that had there been no women, there would be no Dallas as we know it today. I discovered that for the most part, our men who kept the history referred to it in male terms. And men value quantity, what they can weigh, what they can measure, and what they can count. And so it was that our history of Dallas was told in the male languages of when the buildings went up and how tall they were, when the streets and highways came and how wide they were, and how many vehicles could ride over them, and when the banks came and how much money we went into them, and when the sports centers came and what last night's Cowboy football score was. Those were the things that men valued. I got to tell you a sideline story. I'm always telling sideline stories, so I'll try not to make this too long. But along the way, one of my new managing editors promoted me to the editorial board. I was the first woman in the Southwest to be on a major newspaper's editorial board. And the The night before I was to take my seat, I walked the blocks with my husband and I said, honey, I don't think I'm ready for this. That is an erudite. It is a sanctimonious. It is a special place where decisions are made that the paper will then support throughout the community. And so the next day, Monday morning, I went and took my seat. And that night, when I got home, Kurt said to me, how did it go? And I said, I guess it went all right. We spent the first third of the meeting talking about the Dallas Cowboy football score. And then finally, we got around to deciding what tomorrow's editorial pages would look like. I learned that women support quality. I can tell you, because I have researched it and I have written a book on it called Daughters of Dallas, that every socio and every humanitarian breakthrough in this city throughout time has been headed by a woman. A woman created the Dallas Public Library, and if I had time today, I could tell you all about her. And the women created the opera, they created the symphony, they created the first schools, and they created them for their daughters. If they could afford it, they sent their sons east and north to universities. If they couldn't afford it, they apprenticed their sons to somebody who taught them a trade. But they would not send their daughters away from home. And so they created Ursuline Academy and St. Mary's Academy, the first two schools in Dallas that were exclusively for women. And so it is today that you are following in the footpath of your foremothers and are building on the shoulders of the giants who went before you. Now, just a bit of background. Our emancipation as women began in World War II, when every pressure was put upon women to leave their homes, to go out in the world, to get jobs. You all remember Rosie the Riveter. You all remember, or if you don't, you've read about it. Some of you are much too young to remember all the things that I do. But all of those days, women had to be at work. It was the patriotic thing to do. And the war ended. And our country said to us, thank you, dear, if they said anything at all. It is now time for you to go home and to have your have-all and your be-all in your vine-covered cottages and be protected and produce children. And most of us did. I am one of the very few people who didn't. And it was in that framework that I, thank goodness, was married to an emancipated man. I've got to tell you about Kurt. Curtis and I have been married for 67 years. I tell him all the time that he has all of the criteria for the worst male chauvinist. My husband is an only son, an only grandson, a Texas Aggie, and a Marine Corps sergeant. And the most gentle, inspiring, and human being I have ever associated with. Our 5 daughters, unfortunately, think he's God and point out to me all the time that sometimes I expect him to do things that they don't think is appropriate. But that's the way kids are. So at the end of World War II, when we all went home again and tried to see what that life would be like, along came in 1963 a book called The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. and it broke this country wide open. She was a graduate of Smith. She interviewed her former classmates to see how they were doing in the new atmosphere of being at home, wives and mothers, and not following the careers for which they had planned. She learned that the restlessness across the country was incredible. Women were in depression. They were beginning drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. They were supposed to be at home loving their children, but they weren't doing that because they didn't have time to do anything except gossip over coffee with their friends who also were in the same situation. And so she published the book. Now, I have to remind you that I never went home again. So I did not experience the same angst that many of these women that she wrote about were having. But I also understood what they were going through because I was a reporter who was covering all of these things and became a first-name basis with all of the leaders of the second wave of the women's movement. Friedan, Steinem, Liz Carpenter, all of the women who were, Irma Bombach was a dear friend of mine, and I'm sure that name doesn't mean anything to you, but she was one of the most outstanding humor columnists in the country. And so in Dallas, one day, one of my wonderful male editors, and I will want to tell you, I do not ever put men down. They are products also of what they have been taught. But I also know that it takes a real strong woman to educate a man to do what he is supposed to do. In fact, when I took my job, I agonized over becoming women's editor of the Dallas Times-Herald because the hours were long, the expectations were tremendous, and I had to convince my male editors that I could not afford to screw up at home, and they could not afford to have a women's editor who did. And so I had to do it my way. I took my children to work with me on Sunday afternoon when there was nobody in the office except us. I gave them a desk each and let them do their homework. They then knew where Mother was when she wasn't there. So, you know, it worked. And when I hear women say, you can't have it all, I say to them, you can only have what you want to badly enough. And if you want to have it, you will find a way to make it work. So I want to just give you just a real brief rundown of some of the pioneer breakthroughs that were happening that you have inherited today. And I'm going to stay pretty closely with my script because I will forget something if I don't. In Dallas in 1965, Elizabeth Blessing was the first woman to run for mayor of Dallas. Even though she was defeated, she had opened the doors of opportunity for women to seek political office. In 1966, the Panel of American Women was formed. Led by Carolyn Tobian, it consisted of 4 to 5 women on a panel who went out by invitation to talk to people about the prejudices and the drawbacks they had experienced in their own lives. It consisted of an Anglo, a Black, a Hispanic, an Asian, and as often as we could find them, Gregory, a Native American. And it was a wonderful, wonderful program. All they did was just talk to people about what prejudice had done in their own lives. In 1966, the Symposium on the Education for Social and Political Leadership was created by Dean of Women Emmy Bain at SMU, and all of us who were there and inherited this mantle say that that was the beginning of the second wave of the women's movement in Dallas, because the symposium combined students, faculty, and community leaders to help understand each other across age, ethnic, religious, and social boundaries. That symposium is more than 50 years old. I see Lupi in the audience. She was the honoree last year of that program, and it continues today as the only surviving university-sponsored symposium of its kind in the country. So Dallas has done good. In 1967, Governor John Connally signed a bill giving married women equal rights. And that was a campaign that had been led by my friend, lawyer Louise Raggio. And she often said, I did a book on her. I was fortunate to get to write her book. I had covered her all the years when she was doing all these wonderful things. And after she retired, then she allowed me to be the writer for her story of her life, and it's called Texas Tornado. We tried to get the publisher not to call it that because Louise was never a tornado. She worked around to get things done. And I wish I had time to tell you some of the things she did to get things done. But when Governor Connally signed the bill, Louise and I would go out and we would do what we called our dog and pony show and talk about all of the things that were in the book and how times had changed. And Louise was very succinct in what she would tell people. She would tell them, when a woman said, I do, she no longer legally could, because the law gave every right for a married woman to her husband. Do you all believe that? When I talk to young women, they can't believe that that happened. But I can tell you it did. I'll tell you a personal story. Well, Curtis and I had been high school friends, but did not date. And we literally fell in love by letter when he was 3.5 years in the South Pacific during World War II. Because, and then when he came home, I had graduated from SMU. I had worked for a year. I had a card at Neiman Marcus. I called down to get my name changed, and they wouldn't change it. That I had to have credit in my husband's name. He had been in the South Pacific for 3.5 years. He had no credit rating at all, but they would not open an account in my name. In 1968, Explorer was created by 5 women at North Haven Methodist Church. It's a seminar program that still goes on. It's for 24 women who meet for 3 hours once a week to explore together who they are, what they want out of life, how they're going to set their goals, and when they're going to start getting there. And it is a powerful program that I would recommend to anybody. In the 1970s, things were happening all of the time. I'll just run by a few. In 71, 13 women met in Ann Chudd's living room where we formed the Women's Center of Dallas. And working in 9 task forces, child care, counseling, education, higher education, employment, legal rights, media, political action, and health. It provided many women with their first baby steps to emotional and economic independence. In 1972, the Equal Pay Act was enlarged to include equal pay for equal work. And I've got to tell you a story. That hit me hard because the sports editor, Blackie Sherrod, and I went to work for the Dallas Times-Herald the same day. He headed a staff of 5 putting out 5 sections a week. I take that back, 7 sections a week. I headed a staff of 11, putting out 6 sections a week, plus an entire food section on Thursday, plus an entire society section on Sunday, and I was paid exactly half of what Blackie Sherrod was paid. Now, I didn't know that for a while because we didn't talk about money in those days. Thank goodness you young women are talking about money and demanding your equal share of the economy. In 1973, Roe v. Wade was passed. It was leading to making abortion legal, and that was a suit that was filed by Linda Coffey and Sarah Weddington. Linda was from Texas, from Dallas. Sarah was from Austin. They had been law friends at the University of Texas, and they were prodded by Judge Sarah Hughes, who, as you probably remember, later swore in Lyndon Johnson as president after Kennedy was assassinated here. And they fought the battle all the way to the Supreme Court, which they won. Another sideline story quickly. Henry Wade, who was the district attorney, was a friend of ours. I taught his kids in Sunday school, and he taught mine. And so when I was doing the book Daughters of Dallas, I called Henry and I said, I want to know what you personally think about Roe v. Wade. And he said, oh, Vivian, I have 3 daughters. Do I need to tell you how I feel about their right to control their own lives? That's as close as he would come to telling me he would wish that his name was not on that bill. In 1975, the Dallas Commission on the Status of Women was created by Mayor Wes Wise, who fulfilled a promise that he had made to us that if he were elected mayor, he would do something special for women. The SMU, Association for Women Law Students, in 1976 filed a suit against all of the leading law firms in Dallas for their discrimination against women. They would not hire people coming out, females coming out of law school. Guess what? All those cases were settled out of court because the law partners knew that they were not adhering to national legal appropriate things. So in 1977, we held a national conference for women in Houston, and thousands of women, including First Ladies Lady Bird Johnson, Betty Ford, and Rosalind Carter, came to support that effort. My granddaughter, my first granddaughter, was born on the eve of the opening of that conference, and I was in tears through a lot of the program. I was sitting between Liz Carpenter and Irma Bombeck, and Irma reached over and said to me, I know why you're in tears. You hope that this granddaughter will never have to experience the discrimination that you have in order to get where she wants to go. And so Karen grew up, and she was a senior at the University of Missouri, and she called me and she said, my classmates and I are doing a video on the women's movement as our term project. Would you send me everything you have on the women's movement? And I said to her, Karen, do you have a freight train? That's what it's going to take to get it there. There were so many other things that were happening along that time. Time is running out, and I won't bore you with them now, but you will ask me back to hear what the end of the story is. And in the meantime, I am so impressed with what you young women are doing today. I have learned that young women do not join their mothers' organizations. They go out and create organizations of their own. And so we have in Dallas dozens of organizations that have been created by young women, such as the one that you are enjoying here today, who are moving the new generation of women forward. Thank you so much, Women That Soar, for your work in connecting brilliant women across the globe and inspiring them to support each other spiritually, financially, mentally, and physically while advancing your own careers. And thank you, Memnosyne Foundation, which shares many of the passions that the rest of us have here today, and through education and example, inspires them to lift themselves and future generations to a better quality of life. In the last half century, women have made astounding progress. Only those of us who were there recognize how amazing it has been. But we also know that parity still lies ahead. We have cracked the glass ceiling, but it is not yet shattered. It is now your turn to see that that goal is reached. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vivian. And can everybody give one more applause to this amazing woman? I think it is so appropriate that as women, we take note of the people that made opportunities occur for us. A lot of us that are younger assume that we will have those opportunities. And at 36, I'm even more amazed when I meet people that are teenagers that say, of course in my lifetime there's going to be a woman president. They just take it for granted. And just that ability to do that tells us how far progress is being made. So I'd like to end on a particular note, just challenging every single one of you in the audience today, whatever your dream is, whatever you're trying to soar after, whatever you hope to do in your life, whatever you want to make a difference in, however money you want to make this year, whatever your goal is, if it's to be the best quality mother you can be or the best boss in your business, whatever it is, look at yourselves and ask yourself how you can soar that much further, how you can free yourself to be that much more. Because you are going to be the Vivian Castleberries of tomorrow, and we owe it to the people that are not yet born to be that. Thank you.
all of you all come from. But I come from the Baptist church. And in the Baptist church, most oftentimes we don't use that music anyway, right? Y'all put y'all's hands together. Come on, come on.